But at this time, it's an honor and a privilege to welcome our Tribal Council member, our MPIIBS committee member, and our M'day Anishinaabe Kwe to tell us a little bit about the importance of a day like this. I'd like to ask our sister Charmaine Shawana to come forward. Chimagwesh.
Bonjour. You guys awake out there? Bonjour, Debbie Saw Kwan Dish Nikas Wabajeji Dodem. Saginaw Keen and Donjaba. Ojibwe Nishnaabe Kwe and Dow. I serve as the treasurer for the Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School Committee. On behalf of the committee and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan, I welcome you to our third annual Day of Honoring, Healing, and Remembering. Public Act 208 was signed into law by Governor Granholm and became effective on October 25th, 2010. This is a little bit of history of how we got to be here today. The act authorized the conveyance of a tract of land, the former Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School campus, to the city of Mount Pleasant and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan. For $1 each, the city was offered 311 acres and the tribe was offered 8.86 acres, which included 6 historic boarding school buildings and the Mission Creek Cemetery. The city and the tribe were given 180 days to render a decision on whether or not to accept or reject the conveyance. The Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribal Council launched a community-based participatory feasibility study on June 29, 2011 to discuss this Public Act 208. And the council wanted to know, if we're given the land, what are we going to do with it? So they put a committee together. Tribal Council charged an advisory group of internal experts from within the Saginaw Chippewa governmental operations and external professionals and scholars from Central Michigan University. The advisory group was charged to vigorously assess community interests and identify key factors to consider in order to provide the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Council with enough relevant information to guide the decision. On Wednesday, April 22, 2011, the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Council voted to accept the land conveyance. The official deed transfer from the state of Michigan to Tribal Chief Dennis Keequam took place on Monday, April 25, 2011. And I remember when Frank Cloutier, our PR guy, was there when we officially did the deed, and nobody had $1. So Frank had to pull out of his wallet $1 and give it to the state of Michigan, and they gave us the land. But we know it was our land anyway. So the advisory group that formed to address the Public Act 208 land conveyance became the official Tribal Council sanctioned Mount Pleasant Indian Industrial Boarding School Committee in July of 2011. Our committee meets every Monday at the Zebewing Center, and we are currently working to address the following issues: environmental concerns, building structural analysis, archaeological and historic investigations, historic preservation, public education and awareness, historical trauma, fundraising and grant writing, future land use and repurposing of the buildings, and documenting our process and progress. And there's lots of different, all these issues are on topic every time we have a meeting. There's some concern that these buildings over here we can't go in them because they're very, very unsafe. Windows have been broken in, ceilings are leaking. Some of them are in good shape. I think there's 6 buildings altogether, but we are not allowed to go in them because they are very, very unsafe. So we're just doing the tours outside. But there's lots of, we've made some progress. We know that if we become a historic site, we can get some grant money from the feds. But we know that it would cost millions and millions of dollars to renovate these buildings. We don't know if that's what we want to do yet. Maybe we want to knock them down and build a memorial. We have some people here today from Wampu Island, Canada, First Nation Canada, that had a similar experience and put a memorial where their boarding school was. And we're going to have a film in a little bit to talk about that. But there's lots of important issues that we're investigating and talking about. We found that over 200 children that we can't find their burial spots. And a lot of these children that went to school here, when we look around the country, we find that there are other Native institutions like this boarding school, and they have mass burials. And so that's kind of sad to think that that could happen here, but we're looking to find where those babies and those children are born. Those kids that came here were sometimes 3 and 4 years old. There's no record of where they're buried. So our team at Zebwing is researching that to see where they are buried. And it's part of the unfortunate experience. If you look at this picture in the brochure, and look at the little kids in the front, those are how little the kids were that came here. They were very young, babies almost. But I wanted to thank you today for coming and giving you a little bit of history of why we're here today. Thank you for attending today, and I want to encourage you to walk the grounds, purchase a commemorative t-shirt, place bids at the silent auction. All proceeds of today will directly benefit the tribe, the future of this site. Please take home a poster from our committee. We have them over here at the table that highlights some of the upcoming events about the boarding school for the rest of the year. If you would like to become involved with our committee or future events, please leave your name with Davina or Charla at the silent auction table. Miigwech.